Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you for stopping by. I'd hoped to have something to report in the way of a conclusion to the negotiations that have been going on with Washington. That is not the case. All right, things are continuing, and it's not over yet, unfortunately. Very briefly, I'm not going to go through all the details. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, was down. Peter Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, was down. I heard them when they spoke here. They had a lot to say, and it seemed very congenial and very positive. And I thought Peter Hegseth had a few comments that were stronger than I had expected from him regarding our sovereignty and things of this sort. And yet, the problem is that we would put together in Spanish the summation of what was agreed upon, which was decided in discussions with the Americans, and they would put together the English. And we wouldn't see the English. It wouldn't show up, and that's a little weird. And of course, we heard different stories being set up there were said down here, different approaches. And we knew, of course, there are two different audiences involved here. We had to keep that in mind, and we did have it in mind. But it just couldn't gel. And I'm being very frank with you, and people would praise President Moreno for taking the time to really try to come up with an alternative that met the requirements of President Trump without endangering in any way our sovereignty, or never agreeing to any silliness about the Chinese running the canal, which has been baloney from the beginning. We all know that. So, maybe in their dreams in the years to come, but not now. In no way, shape, form, or manner were there any kind of Chinese troops in the canal. Whatever. The simple fact of the matter is that that didn't come up. And we thought we were moving along. And then things started to go a little bit awry. What was actually going on was in the background. There are a number of people in society here who are considered to be part of the leadership, legitimately so. They're there for a reason of popularity. They're supporters of the organizations they represent. They could be what we call civil society groups, church groups, union groups, whatever, small business groups, but also politicians, whatever. And this collection of people, a dozen or so, sat up behind a long table and announced that they were not satisfied at all with what was going on. They had gotten fed up being told that it would happen, they'd get the wording, they'd hear about it soon, anytime now, and on and on and on. And they still didn't know what was going on, really. And they didn't see the commitment on the part of the United States to an understanding. So that we could have a memorandum of understanding, we needed to have the understanding, and it didn't look like it was there to them. And they were upset. Now, in Panama, we do, as a rule, as you know, I've said it many times before, when we feel threatened by a foreign power, we join ranks regardless of what we think of each other. Well, now, this isn't quite the same case because President Moreno has been representing the country, was felt to be doing a very good job at the beginning, now, of course, being criticized because the administration wants more and it was not on the list. And it's transactional, as they say in the trade. And he was praised for a month or two ago. Now he's being criticized for. His has been a difficult job, but I think he has done what he could and the best he could in the circumstances. But now it's moved to a different level because of the failure to bring it to an end and to get something in writing for both parties signed, done, and in, and not just a constant repetition. No. So this pops up, and this group comes together. There are people from every imaginable background. They were such a surprise. People were so surprised. No one had any idea that people who indeed would not have spoken to each other in the same room a month earlier would actually sat down, discussed things with them over the couple of weeks, did more talking, we were reaching out, more sitting together, and did it very quietly because they wanted to be sure they were all on board and they could speak together as one group. So it came as a very big event, and along with it came the request for more from above. And here we are. Now, in the midst of it all, just the last few days, we've finally, I at least thank heavens, we have an ambassador. His name is Kevin Marino Cabrera. Ambassador Cabrera just literally got into town 3 or 4 days ago. I talk about a baptism of fire, but in any event, he's 34 years old. He's been very active as a Republican in his political roles in the U.S. He has also run for office and was elected to what are called the Board of Commissioners of Miami-Dade County. It's a county level role, and it's an important one in that county. He knows his people well. He's of Cuban heritage. He, of course, speaks fluent Spanish and so forth and what have you. He doesn't have a foreign service background in what we would normally expect, but that's not the point. The point is he's the ambassador, and he has been accepted as the ambassador. His credentials were accepted. So, and now he's faced with this. So, but he has to do what he's told to do. Basically, when you're a foreign servant, you're a servant to the president now, but you can have some influence. Whatever. For the rest of us, it means this isn't over with yet. And it's not going to be over with until we're sure it's okay. Now, I've talked on more than one occasion before about how any foreign nation takes control by force of the canal zone is by nothing we have done, but by virtue of the way the canal is operated, it will close down. And that's as simple as that. And people can try to work their way around that, but I'm not going to go into all that. I've spoken about it before. And it is a very unusual requirement, but it's there, and you will not get an insurance company to give you a penny of insurance across the canal unless it's available. And it won't be if we're not there. Okay, so there's no real solution there to the problem. Certainly we know that. I'm not the only person in the world to know about it. I suspect it wasn't mentioned very often because everybody was trying to be agreeable. And who wants to go down that road? Nobody, including me. So, at the same token, though, no sovereignty is going to be given up, and that's made it clear. It's got to be made clear. So we'll see what happens, and we will hope that all of us. The Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the Ambassador, and all the members of the civil society and the politicians and others, and just a collection of people of a wide variety and standing in the community, and the President and his supporters and backers, that we could all come to something that is a reasonable solution to final analysis. But we pretty much have made up our minds, and we know who we are, where we want to be, and where we're going to go. How we're going to get there. We're just going to do it, and we're going to stick to it. That's what the word is. We'll see. It's still Panama. It's still within the realm of reason for an even larger group of people to get together to come up with something, but it's not going to necessarily please the other side. It's likely to bring us together, but I don't know exactly what that means yet. So I'm not going to say what that means. I don't know, and you don't know, and nobody will know until the citizens of the country, make up their minds what direction they're going in. Because when they do, they will go as one. Okay, so that is that. Now, another major thing that we have to keep an eye on here, because we have to look at other things, and I always do, is this whole business of the Christmas Hanukkah season coming along. Right now, as probably many of you know, the planning for the Christmas season and versus the production of gifts, anything from dolls and dresses to washing machines and air conditioners, whatever, all sorts of stuff. Much of it created in China is, the specifications are given to the producers there. They are expected to do exactly what they're told to do. The system is well set up. Walmart has this thing done down to science. But they're not alone. There are a number of others too. And they have to know, and right down to small businesses as well, this is where a majority of their income may come for the year. And that season begins, the actual sales, just after Halloween. So it's actually November and December, right? but the stuff has to be there to be on sale. And so that's got to get down there. And then we're talking thousands of shipments, so to speak, because nobody's going to put them on a plane. It costs too much money. So off it goes on ships. Now those ships, if they're from China, we don't have a very big American merchant marine to go pick it up ourselves. But anyhow, the point is, that's not going to happen that way. The Chinese ships are now finishing up, basically. And I've heard that the last ships have left because after that particular date coming down, I don't keep track of the details. They change too frequently. But as it's coming along, it's a point when they have to pay huge tariffs, fines, fees, whatever you want to call them, million and a half bucks, something like that, for a single ship to come in. And so that's going to have to stop because that just really screws up the pricing. So here you have tens and tens and tens and tens of millions of items, probably several 100 million items, from little tiny things to very big things that are meant for the U.S. market, and they get there through the Panama Canal. They can be to a point up in the West Coast, but there's a limit there, and we would have a Teamster strike in the middle of all of it. It would be great fun, wouldn't it? That's happened before. We're the best by choice if we're available, so we have to be available to get that through. If we're not, well, goodbye Christmas. We're already to a point now where some businesses are going to have to limit the number of product lines they bring out, going to have to reduce the quality, the size, whatever, to bring prices down, and they still don't have any idea what the tariffs are going to be or what other fees or fines or whatever are going to have to be figured into it when it comes time to send the ship off and when the ship arrives in the other end. Oh, wow, this is awful. I don't know if you understand. Even I mean, I've been around shippers all my life. I know a little bit about it, but I've never had to sit with a group like that who've had to go through that. And there's so many jobs and so much livelihood and GDP and everything else that rests on that for so many people in so many nations. And here we go. If we lose it. If you're interested in that sort of thing, it's one thing I watch carefully. Because if we're going to see things slow down, if they stop in May and in June, we're going to be in really serious trouble. So let's see if that happens. But we can't know for sure because things bounce all over the place. If you'd like to follow it yourself, I'm going to put a link down below. CNBC has a section in this website called State of Freight cover. And it will talk to you about this. It's talking now about it. And you can follow their commentaries that they write on what's going on. Because it can become a more and more important issue as we go through it. And will have if it's negative, it could have a stunningly negative impact up north. Or not. Stranger things have happened. Nobody knows for sure. That's really the part of the problem that's the most difficult to overcome, is there is no stability and no trust. That's simple. Without stability, you ain't got trust. You bounce all over kingdom come, then you are no longer trustworthy. And that's the sort of problem that's developing more and more all the time. Not a good thing. So let's hope everybody can work together and make something happen out of that. I absolutely intend to come and talk about some of the good things that are happening down here too, in the midst of everything else. And there are good things happening that are coming along. So on the less than cheerful note tonight, perhaps, but with a cheerful note for the future, thank you very much for stopping in, and I look forward to talking to you again.